Howdy folks! I know I've shown this picture before in some of my videos, but it just absolutely beautiful. My daughter is just so talented, my youngest daughter. I'll repeat again how this was done. This is painted on the glass. It's painted on the back side of the glass, which means that everything, all the colors you see that are forward were painted first, and then she kept adding the layers going backwards, reverse painting. How awesome is that? Anyway, Wiggle, I love you, baby girl. Hang in there. Spring is, or summer's almost here. School's almost out. So anyway, let's get to the point of the video. The point of the video resides in this box. It's a long-awaited, and I sincerely apologize. I should have had this video out a long time ago, but I'm going to cover it now. What's in this box? Well, I'll open it and show you. And when I do, everybody's going to go, "Ah, I hate those." There it is. It is a brand new Briggs Stratton carburetor. So, why do people hate them so much? Well, understanding them is winning the battle. Alright, I have my 3-part carburetor rebuild series, and it is pretty thorough, and combined there's over 100,000 views on it, so it's helped a lot of people. But one of the most common comments, one of the most common comments and concerns that I get are, I bought a brand new carburetor, stuck it on, and it leaks. It leaks out of the weep hole. It leaks out of the air cleaner bolt hole. It leaks. Why is it leaking? This, to a lot of people, they consider this the Quadrajet of carburetors for Briggs & Stratton. Well, they're not, as long as you understand them. And I'm going to try to help today with understanding a little better why they leak. And to do so, there's nothing better to do it with than a brand new carburetor. So you're going to need 2 tools. Now, I have talked about my specialty screwdriver and how to make your specialty screwdriver by rounding these edges off, making them as smooth as you can, because that pot metal really doesn't like anything sharp. And then grinding the tip of your screwdriver so that it perfectly fits the jet, or what's correctly called the emulsion tube. Correctly fits it so that you have you stick this in and the screwdriver stays put, you've got that ground just right. And that's what you need to do. You need to make sure that you make a specialty purpose built. Okay? So, first thing you want to do, take your metering needle out. And this is for even brand new carburetors. Unfortunately, it's all too common. I do get the comment, "I got a brand new carburetor and it leaks like a sieve." Here's why. Okay, the pot metal is not a rocket science, and it is not uber precise as far as machining and whatnot. So down in the hole here we have our main jet screw. So I'm going to get my screwdriver in there, and I'm going to back that sucker out. I'm going to take her all the way out, because I need to explain why these carburetors leak. It's not your float adjustment. A lot of people think, "Oh, do I have to go in and reset my float again? Do I need to set it at a little higher angle so that it doesn't, so the fuel in the bowl shuts off sooner? Is it overflowing? What's the problem there?" Well, no, that is not your problem. Alright, okay, here's the main emulsion tube, and let me see if I can get a flashlight that will shine down in there so that you can see, because this is relatively important. Getting out my little DQ hobby. Alright, Now let's see if we can get a good shot down in there. Okay, way down in there you can see, I mean it's hard to see, but you can see there's a tiny little hole. Well, on the outside of that hole is a bevel. And that bevel perfectly, or supposed to perfectly match this bevel right here. This area right here. Now, even from the factory, when these emulsion tubes are put in, they're screwed in once, and that's it. This is the last thing to go in besides your metering screw. So, carburetor's completely assembled, rock and roll, ready to go. They throw that in, put the metering nut in, and they're done. Well, therein lies a little bit of the problem. Okay, you actually have two mating surfaces. I apologize. You have one here, and you can see, if you look close enough, a little bit of a shiny ring there going around this right here. Just a little bit of a shiny ring. And then the same thing down here. Just a little bit of a shiny ring. And you do have holes right. It's really hard to see here. Hang on just a second. See if this helps. Really hard to see. There's a hole here, right below this chamfer or bevel, and then you spin it around, and there's another one right on the other side. Then you have this area here. Fuel does get in this area here, as well as being pulled up and atomized through the tube. So this area, when the fuel comes in here, if you don't have a good seat right here or right here, and the distance here and here is exact in the carburetor. If you don't have a good seat where the surfaces are mated perfectly, then what happens is that fuel makes its way out and down. Has nothing to do with the float or the upper part of the carburetor at all. It's all just transferring past those two seating points. So how do you fix it? How do you keep it from doing that? It's actually pretty easy. Always start your emulsion tube, main jet, by hand first, because the pot metal bodies, the threads are sensitive. That's why almost all of the screws and everything that assembles it are fine threads instead of coarse. Alright, now we're going to run this in. We'll run it in until it bottoms out. Get in there so I can see, you guys can see there. Okay. Make sure you're seated really well so you don't do anything. And I should have shown it, but I'll show you. Well, just trust me, there's absolutely no damage done to the slot on that main jet / emulsion tube because of creating a purpose-built screwdriver. Okay, I just bottomed out right there. Bottomed out right there. You see? Now I know what I'm doing. I'm backing it off a little bit. I'm tightening it down. Back it off, tighten it down. Keep doing that. As you do it, it's going to get a little bit more difficult each time to loosen. And then you'll start hearing that squeak. I'm not sure if that's going to show up on the sound is going to show up on the video or not. And as you can see, it's getting harder and harder. There you can hear the little ting ting ting. That's exactly what you want. You want to run that in and out and in and out and in and out a number of times until you start hearing that ting 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 ting. That little tinging sound are those two surfaces within there mating perfectly. That will stop any leaks from coming out your weep hole or your air cleaner bolt. That is the fix for these leaking carbs. Oh, there goes that high-pitched voice again. Carbs! And then with the float, you've got to be, sorry, with the float, you've got to be conscientious of how you set the float. I mean, that is important. I just noticed there are 2 lock washers on that screw. Oh, the machine's screwed up a little bit. I'll have to pull that out and change that. I'll do that in a minute with a different screwdriver. But you want to stop your leaking carb, and this works on the 3-bolt carbs, 4-bolt carbs, any carb that resembles this, any carb with a main jet and emulsion tube like that that has mating surfaces against a pot metal body. Make sure that those mating surfaces are mated. They won't be out of the factory most of the time. Alright, I won't say most of the time. They won't be mated out of the factory 9 times out of 10. 8 times out of 10. You know, it just don't take the chance. If you get a brand new carburetor, just do that little trick. And then with your metering screw, back that sucker out 2 or 3 turns before you put it back in. Make sure that you've got your gasket. And again, you're going to that's that gasket causing, there we go. Get the sucker in there. And then once you get it snug down against the gasket, and again, pot metal, do not over torque or over tighten things. The emulsion tube / main jet, yes, you want to tighten that sucker down as tight as you dare, but just get against your gasket. Then with your fingers, tighten that down slowly and carefully until it touches, just touches the emulsion tube / main jet. It just touched. Then note your orientation. Okay, I want to go back 1 1/2 turns for an initial setting. So there's a half, there's 1 1/2. That's it. This is your high idle adjustment. This is your low idle adjustment. You perform the same task here. Now, what's nice about these is they have a shoulder, so you can't mess that pin up on that one, the needle. But still, just do it by hand. Tighten it down, and then back it off 1 1/2 turns. Mount your new carburetor. Make sure that your gasket surface is clean, that you don't have any burrs. Do a physical check, feel it, make sure that there's nothing on there. Put everything together. Hook your gas line to it. Put your nipple on there. Put your gas line to it. Allow the fuel to fill the carburetor. And one more thing. A lot of people say, well, I get fuel that comes out here, and nothing I can do can stop that. Do I want to put RTV gasket sealant on here in order to keep that from happening? The answer to that is absolutely not. These are designed to do that. They are going to, you're not going to, I know it frustrates people because, you know, they restore an engine and they've got it just absolutely beautiful. They put the carburetor on, they don't have any leaks here, so that problem's taken care of. They've got it tuned in right and adjusted just perfectly, but they get some fuel that comes out right around this area on either side. You can't see it so much in the back, but they'll get and it's the tiniest little bit of fuel. When the engine's running and it's vibrating, a little bit of it splashes up, and you end up with just that doesn't mean you've got a bad gasket. It doesn't mean you've got a warped bowl or a warped upper on your carburetor. It's normal So don't fight that. Don't try to seal it. This needs to breathe, or you're going to end up with a vacuum lock. So don't worry about that at all. So there you go. Isn't that a thing of beauty? Just wonderful. I think it's funny, Briggs puts the Welsh plugs in and they glue them, but these are actually made to, you know, here I go babbling, but this is just interesting about these carburetors when you get a brand new one. See how it's still domed? Well, these are designed, I mean, yeah, they crimp them in and they'll stay put. It makes it easier to get them out initially so that you can change the orientation of your choke if you need to. Like if you need this arm to be on the outside, you take the 2 screws out, pull the arm out, flip it over to the other side, put the 2 screws back in, and now you have your orientation out here where it needs to be. That's why you've got contacts here and here and here and here for attaching your choke cable. And why does Briggs do this? Well, it's very, very simple why they do this. That's so that you don't have to buy a new Welsh plug just because you need to change the orientation of your choke. Once you get, and to pop the Welsh plug out, you just go down through the hole with a bent screwdriver or a small pry bar, just pop, and it will pop right out. And then when you're done, you take and using about anything really. I mean, you could use something like that, whack it with a hammer a couple times. What it does is it puts a dimple in here which expands the outer edge of the Welsh plug and locks it in. These dimples that are here are only there to kind of, it's not making it conical, the seat, but it just makes it easier that once you, if you have to. Now if you don't worry about it. It's not going to go anywhere. You don't need to mash that in. You've got that availability if this carb ever gets switched over to one where the choke control needs to be over on this side. So it's actually really a smart design, very smart by Briggs, that this Welsh plug has not been dimpled, so it is still able to expand. That's why they're glued in from the factory. And that's the only reason that they're there. When they went to these one-piece bodies, you had to have a way to get to that choke lever in case you needed to move the orientation, change the orientation of the choke. So there you go. I may go ahead and put this up as Briggs Stratton carb rebuild number 3, or excuse me, number 4, or something to that effect. In fact, yeah, that's what I'll do. But there you go. And I certainly hope that this helps you guys in understanding why these Flo-Jet carburetors have a tendency to leak, even brand new, fresh out of the box. Keep the video suggestions coming. I posted a couple quick tips the other day. Had a good response to those. Did a Zippo shop update, was like 17 minutes and something long, and people sat there and watched the whole thing. I guess my babbling is somewhat addictive to some people. They love to hear and see what's going on. So we'll see what happens with the rest of the day today. I've got a couple small projects, not video worthy, but there you go. This is it. This is Zippo. Good luck with your Briggs & Strattons and your Flo-Jet carburetors. And another thing, go see me on Facebook under Zippo Varga. I do have a dedicated Zippo Varga channel on Facebook now. I will be setting it up so that when I upload a video, it will automatically post to my new channel on Facebook. So go in, like my page, and drop me a line. This is Zippo later. I'm out.